standoff. 5 BJP leaders now allowed inside the campus. Amid infighting and dissent, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge says party high command will decide the future course of action in Karnataka. BJP calls the Congress a family-run institution. A day after Tejasvi Yadav vowed to throw the Waqf bill into the dustbin if the Mahagathbandhan returns to power in Bihar, BJP lashes out at RJD, calls them Namazwad, I beg your pardon, not Samajwad. Amid spirited and united attack by the opposition over alleged Hindi imposition in the state, Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis denies any U-turn, says he is not against any language, accuses Uddhav Thackeray of making U-turns a habit. A minor girl from Prayagraj rescued from Kerala revealed stunning conversion terror plot link, claims she was forcibly converted and taken to Kerala where she was coerced into training for jihad. Actor Naseeruddin Shah stands firmly with Diljit Dosanjh over casting Pakistani actress Hania Amir in Sardarji 3. Says it's the director and not the actor that's behind any film's casting. Goes on to say those who say go to Pakistan must go to Kailasa. Massive explosion inside a reactor of a chemical factory in Telangana leaves 13 workers dead. State Health Minister says 65 workers were present inside at the time of explosion. Rescue operations underway. On to the exclusive news break on Nation at 5. Chinese President Xi Jinping's unusual disappearance from public glare between May 21st and June 5th this year has now sparked intense speculation about internal political adjustments at the highest levels within the Chinese Communist Party and whether or not there is going to be a change of guard at the highest levels in China. Media reports in the last 2 weeks, Chinese dailies have been reporting about Xi's sudden absence from official engagements. Media coverage across China, high-profile diplomatic meetings, all have spoken of every single leader within the CCP other than Xi Jinping. There's mounting economic challenges in core sectors in the Chinese economy as well. There are several other issues that plague China. At such a time, observers are suggesting that behind closed doors, there seemed to be a quiet yet significant recalibration of power. Is Xi Jinping on his way out? Is there a sidelining which eventually will lead to his replacement? That's what's being speculated by global media. Analysts are also divided over what this implication could be. Xi Jinping is trying to recalibrate political structures in China. There are others that are suggesting there are potential internal challenges to his authority, which is why he is being silently sidelined. But what does this mean for China? What does this mean for India as well? Top intelligence sources, in fact, have told CNN News 18 that Xi Jinping's absence is not unusual. China has a history of sidelining prominent leaders. They've done that in the past, specifically with one of their defense ministers and one of their foreign ministers in the recent history. Xi Jinping has been missing in action from several key events, but that is seen as a pattern by many observers. The Communist Party has done so with at least 3 prominent leaders, like I pointed out. There are transitions that have been done in this manner because the CCP believes that you'd rather sideline a particular leader than outrightly dismiss them. Army generals that have been linked to Xi Jinping have either been removed or have been sidelined. There is one particular individual, an army general, who now has prominence. That individual had a falling out with Xi Jinping, but is the de facto leader of the People's Liberation Army now. Wang Yang, a technocrat who's also seen as a reform-oriented individual, could be the successor, is being groomed as a successor of Xi Jinping, is also what we've gathered from our sources. Anand Narasimhan now joins us, getting us more details on this. Anand, what gave rise to the speculation is that there were several media reports, especially Chinese dailies, that were talking about certain events that were taking place, certain key engagements that were taking place, all of which was done without Xi Jinping being at the front and center.
On international fora, he's been missing. He was missing from the mastheads of the top dailies in China. between the 2nd and the 5th of June, for the first time since 2017, there was no mention of Xi Jinping, and we've got some copies of those newspapers and those dailies, and there is no picture, photo of Xi Jinping or his thoughts. And even in multilateral fora and across the world, Xi Jinping has been absent, and his thoughts have been read by other top Chinese leaders now in these engagements. And this has been very, very surprising. And this hints to the fact that whether or not Xi Jinping is slowly being sidelined, like you mentioned, and like Manoj Gupta's inputs mentioned, in China and within the CCP, they don't outrightly dismiss a leader. They marginalize, sideline, and push them to the corner, and then eventually someone else comes takes over. Now, recently, a State Council constitutional loyalty ceremony on the 6th of June, attended by 50 ministers and department heads, and this was conducted without Xi Jinping's presence. Then, in 2025, some key removals. Xi loyalists have been removed. General He Weidong, Vice Chairman, CMC, General Miao Hua, who is the Chief of Political Work, General Lin Xiangyang, who is the Commander of the Eastern Theatre Command, the PLA Rocket Force, and also the Western Theatre Command, has seen major changes and upheavals between 23 and 25, largely towards the end of 24 and early 25. You mentioned someone who's not so close to Xi Jinping, but the Hu Jintao faction within the CCP, who's now become very, very powerful, and he's the one who is the first vice chairman of the CMC, Zhang Youxia, who's the one who's now controlling this, the conversation. And it looks like that there is a leadership transition that is in place, or that is currently happening within China at a time when their real estate is suffering. They have a problem with their semiconductor business not taking off. In multiple nations, their investments have gotten stuck, despite the fact that the Chinese are being very aggressive in their arms sales, especially to nations like Pakistan and Iran. At what cost? And that is only to further their expansionist ambitions. We'll have to wait and watch. But China is suffering. And even Trump's policies, the trade tariffs, all of that has hurt the Chinese economy to an extent where we are seeing youth unemployment at somewhere around 15%, real estate being stagnant, no growth happening, and also failure, like I mentioned, of its semiconductor funding programs. So when there is instability internally, when there is a transition internally, history shows us that there will always be some external action, and the nation that bears the brunt of that invariably is Bharat. So again, what intel agencies are saying, Poonam, is that Bharat could be on the radar, especially trouble in the Arunachal region and also in Ladakh, where some of these generals, newly appointed generals, would want to assert their dominance, and also to make themselves curry some favor with the new probable leadership in the near future.
Anand, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Professor Brahmachalani also joins us on this broadcast. So thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. And we'll try and get a sense of what really this means, both for China, for the world, and of course for India. But let me first ask you this. Do you see this as unusual, or is this something that was predictable, that the man who was believed to be somebody who was going to be in power all along, he could be also pushed out? Xi Jinping could also be on his way out.
In the opaque Chinese political system, Poonam, when the top leader disappears from public view, even if it's for 2 weeks, it could hint at internal power struggles or policy recalibrations or leadership reshuffles within the Chinese Communist Party, or it could be an attempt to manage a pressing crisis. It could be a political crisis or an economic crisis. We all know that China is actually grappling with a serious economic crisis. But the point to note is that in consolidating his power, Xi Jinping has made many enemies within the Chinese communist system, as well as in the People's Liberation Army. The People's Liberation Army is actually not the national military of China. It's the military of the Chinese Communist Party. And Xi Jinping has, over the years, including more recently, purged many generals, admirals, and also senior people from within the Chinese Communist Party. So he has made many, many enemies. But I think overall, the absence of Xi Jinping might suggest that he's trying to reconfigure the power struggle the past structure to address internal dissent or failures. It may be a reaction to worsening governance outcomes, maybe in the economic sphere or military or political, or the regime could be preparing for a policy shift, tightening internal control while projecting stability abroad. So if it's verified and not mere rumor, this absence would echo past moments of internal turbulence in China. Let me give you three recent examples of internal turbulence. 2012, there was a pre-Congress factional strife, the Beaujolais episode, when Beaujolais was then arrested and basically, convicted of being a threat to national security. Then in 2023, the rocket force, the top force that includes the missile force, the nuclear force, its leadership was purged. That was just in 2023. And then we had the zero COVID backlash in 2022 when there were mass protests against the Communist Party and Xi Jinping. Nobody believed that China would experience popular student-led, youth-led protests against the Communist Party and against Xi Jinping. But we saw in December 2022 how people came out bravely on the streets, especially in the big cities, and they actually protested against the zero COVID policy of Xi Jinping. It's clear that something major is happening in China. We don't know what that major development is, but clearly Xi Jinping is grappling with an important issue.
And there's a lot of internal crisis that they're dealing with. There's a certain amount of PR change that's required for China globally as well. But while they try and figure that out, Brahmachalani, do you think that they would try and divert attention from that? And in turn, India may have to face the music of that they may try and foment trouble at our borders, both in Arunachal Pradesh, in eastern Ladakh as well. And that's where they try and shift the focus to, instead of people talking about their internal troubles. Do you think that that could happen?
Poonam, when Anand was speaking with you, he did mention the threat to India. And it's actually a very valid point, because how did the 1962 war, the invasion of China against India, begin? It began when Mao Zedong was at his most vulnerable point. He was under tremendous pressure in China, in the Communist Party, because his great leap forward had not only failed, that turned into a disaster of massive proportions. In fact, tens of millions of ordinary Chinese perished, were killed in a man-made famine. This great leap forward was a man-made famine, and Mao was facing a crisis within the Communist Party. It was a leadership crisis. There was a lack of confidence in Mao's leadership. At that very point, he decided to invade India in October 1962. So there is history to how, when a top Chinese leader faces with internal issues and faces challenge to his own leadership, he seeks to divert attention by carrying out some major military adventure. It happened even with Deng Xiaoping. When Deng Xiaoping actually grabbed power by actually outmaneuvering the designated successor to Mao in 1979, what did he do? He invaded Vietnam. But in that invasion, instead of China actually teaching Vietnam a lesson, as it set out to do, it was Vietnam that taught China a lesson. Vietnam gave China a bloody nose. So there is a history of the Chinese Communist Party top leadership seeking to divert attention from internal and leadership issues.
One last question, Mr. Chilani, before I let you go. There are several names that are being spoken of if the speculation is, of course, not just a speculation and turns out to be true that Xi Jinping could actually be replaced. One of them is a technocrat who was recently appointed as a leader of the CCP. He's allegedly being groomed to be the successor. Wang Yang, if I'm not mistaken. Do you have any thoughts of what that could mean if he does replace Xi Jinping both for China and for India?
The power struggle within the Chinese Communist Party would be vicious. It will not be a clear path for any person because what Xi Jinping has done in the name of fighting corruption, he has used corruption to basically weed out all those that he thought were not fully loyal to him. So at the top positions, the senior positions in the Communist Party and in the government, only the loyalists are there. And among these loyalists, there would be a vicious power struggle if something were to happen to Xi Jinping. And let's not forget that that tensions are brewing within the Chinese military, the People's Liberation Army, because of all these purges. There are purges of senior generals that have been ongoing for several years now. And it's possible that the PLA top leadership may decide to take matters into their own hands. After all, what legitimizes Chinese Communist Party rule? It's the military's might that allows the Chinese Communist Party to stay in power. So a time might come, I'm not suggesting now, but a time might come when the military generals might decide that it's high time that they, instead of being subordinate to the Chinese Communist Party, that they dictate terms to the Communist Party. That day may come, and it can come at any time.
Right, and when that time comes, India is, of course, looking to be prepared of what that could mean at our borders, what that could mean diplomatically as well. But Brahma Chalani, thank you so much for speaking with us here and putting that in perspective. Moving on now to Karnataka. Amid talks of a change in leadership in the state, Congress chief Mallikarjun Kharge did not categorically deny the rumours, but instead claimed that the party high command will decide. When asked about the renewed buzz over a possible leadership change in the state, Mallikarjun Kharge said that it's in the hands of the party high command and they will decide what the future course of action would be. The BJP has seized the moment. They asked the most obvious question. Who exactly is this high command? Isn't Mallikarjun Kharge the chief of the party? Taking a swipe at Kharge, BJP questioned if the Congress president wasn't the one who made these decisions, then who is it that the high command really was, and if it was the family that called all the shots? Kharge's remark come as Congress General Secretary Randeep Singh Surjewala, who is also the in charge of Karnataka of the party, visited Bengaluru, fueled talks of DK Shiv Kumar replacing Siddaramaiah as the chief minister, but a united front was put, at least for the cameras, by the chief minister and who dismissed rumours of discord between him and his deputy.
That is in the hands of High Command. Nobody can say here what is going in the High Command. This is left to the High Command. High Command has got power to take further actions, but unnecessarily one should not create problem.
आखिरकार सच जुबान पर आ ही गया। जो वर्स्ट केप्ट सीक्रेट है कि कांग्रेस में अध्यक्ष की कोई वैल्यू नहीं है, प्रथम परिवार की ही वैल्यू है, वो खड़गे जी ने खुद बयान कर दिया। उन्होंने कहा कि कर्नाटका का सीएम कौन होगा, क्या चेंज होगा, ये हाई कमांड तय करेगा। मतलब वो खुद हाई कमांड नहीं है। मतलब कि कांग्रेस में कोई चुनाव नहीं हुआ। मतलब कि एक दलित नेता अध्यक्ष बनता भी है तो उसको कैसे अंडरमाइन किया जाता है, रिमोट कंट्रोल किया जाता है, जैसे मनमोहन सिंह जी को किया जाता था। और असली पावर सेंटर तो परिवार ही है। ये पारिवारिक पार्टी, फैमिली रन इंस्टीट्यूशन है, फैमिली फर्स्ट है, पार्टी फर्स्ट नहीं है। एक दलित कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट की कोई भी इज्जत और सम्मान नहीं है, तो ये पार्टी रिमोट कंट्रोल्ड बाय फर्स्ट फैमिली है। इसका प्रमाण आज सामने आ चुका है।
We're now learning that Karnataka MLA B.R. Patil, who is one of the first to meet Randeep Singh Surjewala, their discussion lasted about 35 minutes. It allegedly centered on allegations of corruption within the housing department. In a move to ensure candid conversation, personal assistants and gunmen of these MLAs were denied entry to the meeting. Randeep Singh Surjewala has been meeting with will be meeting with several MLAs in the state, many of whom have been raising questions against the state government, have been making allegations and talking about corruption that seems to be deep-rooted in several of these state departments. Harish now joins us, getting us more details on this. Harish, is B.R. Patil the only MLA that Randeep Singh Surjewala has met with? I believe we have more details of what transpired in that meeting.
Well, he was the first one to meet, and this meeting went on for a good 35 minutes, where B.R. Patil has told him about his allegations of corruption within the housing department. He's also said that if required, he would provide the kind of documents required to prove his charges. And this meeting went on for a good 30-35 minutes, and B.R. Patil says that he stuck to his stance and he said everything that he has said in the public domain. He's conveyed the same to Surjewala, and he's now saying that it's up to the party and the party high command to decide what they want to do. After that, Surjewala has met several other MLAs as well, but B.R. Patil, one of those voices which was raising questions about corruption within his own government. So he was the first one to meet Surjewala today. Tomorrow you have B.R. Patil, tomorrow you have Raju Kage and H.C. Balkrishna. Remember, Raju Kage is somebody who's echoed similar sentiments as B.R. Patil. H.C. Balkrishna is somebody who's from D.K. Shivkumar's camp. So he would be pitching for D.K. Shivkumar as the next chief minister. So these MLAs are likely to meet Surjewala tomorrow. So this meeting likely to go on where different MLAs will come forward and express their grouse or express their support for their leader.
Right, Harish, do stay on with us because more of these details will come in as far as Surjewala's meetings with Karnataka MLAs and Congress leaders in the state continue. But Congress leaders were given to understand in the state continue to defy the party diktat. Surjewala is holding these one-on-one meetings, but chorus is growing within the DKS camp now. Another MLA has come out and he says that he is going to be requesting the High Command to give an opportunity to D.K. Shivkumar to become the Chief Minister of the state.
ಹೌದು, ನನಗೂ ಆಹ್ವಾನ ಇದೆ. ನಾಳೆ 2:30ಗೆ ನಾನು ಕೂಡ ಭೇಟಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ನನಗೆ ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ವಿಚಾರ. ಅದನ್ನು ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡು. ಯಾರು ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿ ಬೇಡ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಅವ್ರು ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಆದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ ಏನಂತಂದರೆ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಅಧಿಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಬರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಟ್ಟಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಒಂದು ಅವಕಾಶವನ್ನು ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಮನವಿಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ.
ಈ ಒಂದು ಅವಧಿ ನನ್ನ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿ ಆಯ್ತಾರೆ ಸರ್,
ಅದನ್ನ ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿಚಾರ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅದನ್ನ ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ.
Harish continues to be with us, getting us those details. Harish, there seems to be a chorus within the DKS camp. Change in leadership after 2.5 years is something that D.K. Shivkumar and his loyalists have also been speaking of ever since the Congress came to power in Karnataka, that there is going to be an arrangement where the Chief Minister's chair would be shared after a point.
Absolutely. Yesterday we saw Iqbal Hussain making similar comments. Today it's H.C. Balkrishna, MLA from Magadi, saying that D.K. Shivkumar has done his bit for the party to come back to power with a majority of 135 seats, and that needs to be recognized. And he's saying that we'll request the same when he meets Surjewala tomorrow, and say that High Command should give an opportunity to D.K. Shivkumar. Let's also not forget why this problem has escalated. One, you have the speculation going on since day one that there is a power sharing deal, and we do not have the Congress High Command coming out very openly and saying there is no deal, there will be just one Chief Minister for the entire tenure. Even today you have Mallikarjun Kharge not ruling out a leadership change, saying that it's the High Command which will decide, which essentially leaves the door open for speculation that yes, the High Command is looking at some sort of a leadership change. On the other hand, you have Siddaramaiah and D.K. Shivkumar, who in a very smart move haven't got dragged into this. They've left it to their own followers to talk about this and debate this, and that's not really helping the cause here.
Now, Harish, we are seeing these kind of comments come to the fore even at a time when the Chief Minister is trying to put up a united front. Earlier in the day, we had pictures coming out of D.K. Shivkumar and Mrs. Siddaramaiah hand in hand. So at least for the cameras, they want to paint a picture like all is well.
Absolutely. For public consumption, media consumption, you might have D.K. Shivkumar and Siddaramaiah holding hands and saying they are together like a rock, whether it's today in Mysuru or on different occasions on stage. But the fact that they've allowed their supporters to escalate this, for DK Shivakumar supporters to go out and constantly remind that there is a leadership change. DK Shivakumar is the man who should be rewarded for bringing the party to power. On the other hand, Siddaramaya's own followers and his MLAs haven't really backtracked. They are the ones coming out and talking about saying that Siddaramaya is the man who can ensure that the party comes back to power in 2028. Many of them pushing him to reconsider his decision of not contesting in 2028. Others saying that it's time for a Dalit chief minister, trying to negate the possibility of bringing in DK Shivakumar by playing the Dalit card. So it's a free-for-all session in the Congress party right now. And the fact that the Congress High Command hasn't put its foot down and ensured that all these MLAs, irrespective of the party, irrespective of their camps, follow the party diktat is what is making it difficult for the Congress party now here in Karnataka.
Harish, do stay on with us. The party clearly seems to be cognizant of that problem, which is why we're now given to understand that there is a new diktat that has come to the fore for party MLAs, especially in Karnataka. Sources are now telling CNN News 18 that MLAs have been asked to not make any public comments, especially while Randeep Singh Surjewala, who is the in charge for Karnataka of the Congress party, is in the state taking stock. Pallavi now joins us, getting us more details. Pallavi, several such messages being sent out by the Congress party, by the High Command, as Mallikarjun Kharge himself pointed out, to all of these MLAs to not speak out of turn, to not make any comments, because this is embarrassing to say the least.
Absolutely, but is anyone going to be listening to the High Command? Puram, I think that's the million-dollar question. Similar kind of diktats were issued also in Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, but we saw that most of them were not even bothering to listen to the High Command, and public comments have been made. See, the point is that today they may have put a lid on this kind of speculation, but how long will it last? I don't think DK Shivakumar supporters would want to remain silent for long, and similarly Siddaramaya supporters will not accept a situation where there could be a possibility in near future that there could be a change of guard. So essentially what has now happened is in that rounds of meetings which are taking place with the MLAs, all of them have been asked to concentrate on their work to ensure that all the poll promises are implemented, the assurances made by Rahul Gandhi are implemented, and apart from that, the ministers also, many of them who were facing complaints of not being in touch with the party workers or MLAs, they have also been asked to be more accommodative, to have a show of strength and keep the party and the government together. But most importantly, of course, at this point of time, most of them have been told that let's not make any public comments about change of CM, because this helps the BJP to send out a perception that we are not in control. Whatever has to happen, whatever needs to be done is something which the top leadership will take a decision at an appropriate time, but do not go and break the party line and don't make any comments which can embolden the BJP.
Right, Pallavi, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. We'll have to see if MLAs and leaders within the Karnataka Congress actually pay heed to this kind of diktat that is coming to the fore. But the BJP seems to be having a last laugh with the kind of comments that are coming to the fore, especially from the chief of the Congress party as well. Let's listen in.
मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे द्वारा ये कहना कि कर्नाटका में कांग्रेस पार्टी का मुख्यमंत्री का चेहरा कौन होगा ये निर्धारित हाई कमांड करेगा, ये स्पष्ट करता है कि गांधी वाड्रा परिवार एक दलित प्रेसिडेंट का अपमान कर रही है और खड़गे के हाथ में कोई पावर नहीं है। मतलब खड़गे ये स्वीकार रहे हैं कि वो एक लेम डक प्रेसिडेंट है। इससे ये भी स्पष्ट होता है कि नेहरू गांधी वाड्रा परिवार का हमेशा से मॉडल ये रहा है जो सोनिया गांधी का मॉडल था कि पावर और सत्ता अपने हाथ में रखो, फेस किसी और को बनाओ। ये यही स्पष्ट करता है कि गांधी वाड्रा परिवार पीड़ित वंचित का अपमान करती है और साथ में पावर विदाउट अकाउंटेबिलिटी चाहती है।
ಅವರು ಉಸ್ತುವಾರಿ ಜನರಲ್ ಸೆಕ್ರೆಟರಿ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವರು ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಏನು ತೊಂದರೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಸಂಘಟನೆ ಏನೇನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ಅವರು ಉಸ್ತುವಾರಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ.
We'll keep a track of that and much more here on CNN News 18. But for now, a quick break on this edition. A reminder for you though, your favorite news channel is now available at your fingertips. The News 18 app has been upgraded for a news experience like never before. Top headlines, succinct analysis and stories that have the world's attention on social media are all now available at a click's distance. Download the News 18 app using the QR code that you see on your screens.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Welcome back. Now we are getting a breaking input from the international front. Now Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says trade talks with US have resumed after Canada rescinded its plan to tax US technology firms. Now this comes after US President Donald Trump suspended trade talks with the neighboring nation over its plan to continue with its tax on US tech firms, which he called a direct and blatant attack on our country. All right, so this is the latest as far as the US and Canada trade talks are concerned. Remember, US, in fact, last time has said that there are not going to be any negotiation with Canada because of the tax that they have put on US technology firms. And now the latest that we are getting to know is that the talks between Canada and US is going to resume. And this has been confirmed by the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who says that the trade talks with US have resumed after Canada rescinded its plan to tax US technology firms. Now, this is happening after US President Donald Trump has in fact suspended the trade talks with the neighboring nation over its plan to continue with its tax on US tech firm, which he has called it a direct and blatant attack on the country. I'm now joined by CNN News 18's Akansha Swaroop on this broadcast. Akansha, the talks between US and Canada, which was in fact completely withdrawn by both the sides, is now going to continue again. What is really the conditions on which the talks is going to continue now?
So what we can tell you is that
हम इसलिए आए हैं कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी का प्रत्येक सदस्य, और मैं कहना चाहता हूं इस देश का प्रत्येक जागरूक नागरिक, वह पश्चिम बंगाल की प्रत्येक बेटी और प्रत्येक बहन के पीछे खड़ा है। हम उसके बारे में चिंतित हैं। ये जो घटना हुई है उसके बारे में क्षुब्ध हैं, स्तब्ध हैं, आक्रोशित हैं और बहुत ही व्यथित भी है, दुखी भी है। जिस प्रकार से घटना चल रही है पश्चिम बंगाल के अंदर, ये केवल एक घटना नहीं, जो एक पैटर्न बन रहा है, और पैटर्न पिछले काफी दिनों से, सालों से चल रहा है। पिछले साल आपको मालूम है आरजी कॉलेज में क्या घटना घटी, उससे लगता है एक विशेष पैटर्न बन रहा है। विशेष पैटर्न ऐसा है कि कानून व्यवस्था जो है ध्वस्त हो रही है, प्रशासनिक लापरवाही, और उसके साथ साथ जिस प्रकार से पार्टी के जो यहाँ पर इस समय जो सरकार है, ममता दीदी की सरकार, एक महिला मुख्यमंत्री होने के बाद जिस प्रकार से महिलाओं के ऊपर अत्याचार बढ़ रहे हैं, और एक केस नहीं, ऐसे बहुत केस हैं। हमारे पास लिस्ट है, अग्निमित्रा जी ने आज लिस्ट दी है, होगा तो बाद में प्रेस में भी हम उसको रिलीज करेंगे। इतने केस हैं महिलाओं के ऊपर अत्याचार और उनके प्रति अपराध के, बहुत से केसेस में FIR ही रजिस्टर नहीं की जा रही। हम दिखाने के लिए दिखाएंगे आंकड़ों के अंदर कि आंकड़ों में जो है, आंकड़े में वेस्ट बंगाल जो पीछे आगे नहीं है। जब FIR ही रजिस्टर नहीं होती है, कितने लोग हैं अभी, कितनी महिलाएं हैं जो अत्याचार से पीड़ित हैं। ये बड़े दुख की बात है, और इसलिए हम लोग एक तो जैसे मैंने कहा, जो पीड़िता है उसके परिवार के प्रति हम संवेदना व्यक्त करते हैं। पूरी भारतीय जनता पार्टी उनके साथ खड़ी है। पुलिस ने जो भी किया है, हम लोग अभी आज हमारी टीम कलकत्ता के पुलिस कमिश्नर से मिली। कलकत्ता के पुलिस कमिश्नर मिलकर के उन्होंने अपने को बताया उन्होंने क्या क्या इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया है, किन किन लोगों का उसमें जो गिरफ्तारी हुई है। उन्होंने हम लोगों को ये अश्योर किया है कि इस केस के अंदर कठिनतम से अधिक सजा इस केस में दिलवाई जाएगी। हमारे कुछ प्रश्न हैं। हम लोगों ने कोशिश की ला कॉलेज में जाऊँ, हम लोग स्पोर्ट पर तो नहीं गए, लेकिन क्योंकि हमारे साथ सौभाग्य है कि बार काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया के जो चेयरमैन हैं श्री मनन कुमार मिश्रा जी, और किसी भी लॉ कॉलेज में जाकर के इंस्पेक्ट करते हैं, ये उस हैसियत से हम लोग वहाँ पर आज हम गए थे। हम आगे नहीं गए, आप लोगों बहुत लोग वहाँ पर थे। हम लोग वही गेट के पास वहीं बैठ कर के वाइस प्रिंसिपल से हमने बात किया, कुछ जानने की कोशिश की कि किस प्रकार से कॉलेज चल रहा है। लेकिन दो मुख्य बातें हैं। जो इस केस में मुख्य आरोपी है, जिसको मुख्य आरोपी बताया जा रहा है, हमको भी मालूम नहीं है, पुलिस को मालूम होगा कौन कौन लोग हैं, कौन कौन उसमें संलिप्त हैं। अभी 4 लोगों की गिरफ्तारी हुई है, लेकिन मुख्य कौन है, किस किस की क्या क्या भूमिका है, क्या क्या रोल है, ये पुलिस उसमें जो है करने वाली। लेकिन 2 बातें जो हमारे सामने आई है, एक तो ये, जिस व्यक्ति के खिलाफ 2013 से लेकर के 2011 से 4 केस रजिस्टर हो चुके हैं, 4 बार जो आदमी गिरफ्तार हो चुका है, जो टीएमसी के छात्र परिषद का सदस्य रहा है या अभी भी है, ऐसे व्यक्ति को जिसके खिलाफ 4 केस हुए हों, ऐसे आदमी को लॉ कॉलेज के अंदर अपॉइंटमेंट कैसे मिलता है? किसने अपॉइंटमेंट दिया है? ये कौन गवर्निंग बॉडी का प्रेसिडेंट कौन है, आप लोगों को मालूम होगा। कौन लोकल एमएलए है, कौन वहां का गवर्निंग बॉडी का है, और किस प्रकार से जानबूझ करके हमको ये बताया गया कि वहां पर जो है ज्यादातर जो परमानेंट सैंक्शन स्ट्रेंथ है उसको भरा नहीं जाता है, ताकि टीएमसी के जो कार्यकर्ता हैं उनको वहां पर उनको नौकरी दी जा सके। और ऐसे लोगों को जब नौकरी दी जाती है उसका परिणाम आप लोग हम देख रहे हैं। तो इतनी बात कहकर के मैं पुनः इस बात को दोहराता हूं कि जिस राज्य की मुख्यमंत्री एक महिला हो, उस राज्य के अंदर महिलाओं के ऊपर, हमारी बेटियों को इतना अत्याचार हो, इतने अपराध हो, बेटी किसी की भी हो, इसमें कोई राजनीतिकरण नहीं है। हम यहाँ कोई केस का राजनीतिकरण करने नहीं आए, इसमें कोई राजनीति, कोई पार्टी नहीं है। और बेटी सबकी बेटी है, कलकत्ता की बेटी पूरे भारत की बेटी है। और इसलिए हम लोग ये चाहते हैं कि इस केस के अंदर जहां तक है और कठोरतम सजा हो, परिवार को न्याय मिले, और महिलाएं यहाँ पर केवल एक वोट बैंक नहीं है, महिला केवल एक स्टैटिस्टिक्स नहीं है, महिला केवल राजनीतिक ढाल नहीं बनना चाहिए, वे सम्मान की पात्र हैं, वो सुरक्षा की पात्र हैं, उनको सब कुछ मिलना चाहिए। इतना कहकर मैं यहाँ पर थोड़ा रुकता हूँ। हमारे जो साथी लोग हैं वो बारी बारी से अपनी बात करेंगे, कुछ प्रश्न आपके होंगे, उन प्रश्नों का हम जवाब देंगे। भाई सुनो, सॉरी, प्लीज थोड़ा शांति बनाइए। अरे मैं आई रिक्वेस्ट यू प्लीज, थोड़ा सा यू कोऑपरेट विद अस, कोऑपरेट विद द मीडिया, कोऑपरेट विद अस। थैंक यू वेरी मच। आप मन में क्या बोलेंगे? कोई बोल लेगा।
देखिए, भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने ये जो फैक्ट फाइंडिंग कमेटी बनाई, उसका एक निश्चित वजह था। देयर वाज ए डेफिनेट रीजन बिहाइंड दैट। आप देख रहे हैं कि पश्चिम बंगाल में इतनी गंभीर घटनाएं होती जा रही हैं महिलाओं के खिलाफ। आरजीकर का केस आपने देखा, वकील यहाँ पिटे थे। महिलाओं के प्रति जितना अत्याचार और जिस तरह का अनाचार, रेप की घटनाएं, हत्या की घटनाएं हुई हैं, उसका लिस्ट आपको देंगे हम। लेकिन यहाँ की सरकार, यहाँ की पुलिस मशीनरी, यहाँ की जो इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग एजेंसीज हैं, उनकी नाकामियत, उनकी बदनीयती, और चूंकि इन जितनी ये इस प्रकार की गंभीर घटनाएं हो रही हैं, उसमें टीएमसी के कार्यकर्ता, टीएमसी के पदाधिकारी निश्चित तौर पर वो इन्वॉल्व होते हैं, वही अपराधी हैं। इसलिए उनको सरकारी तंत्र का और इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग एजेंसीज का लगातार उनको सपोर्ट मिलता रहा है, केसेज को हशप कर दिया जाता है। अब उसी क्रम में लॉ कॉलेज में, जहां कानून की पढ़ाई होती है, जहां से मजिस्ट्रेट, जजेज और वकील निकलते हैं, लॉ कॉलेज के कैंपस में गैंग रेप की घटना, और सामने बात तुरंत आ गई कि इसमें जो मुख्य अभियुक्त, जो मेन एक्यूज था, वो टीएमसी से रिलेटेड था। एक हिस्ट्री सीटर है, जैसा कि हमारे ब्रदर ने बताया, वो 4 बार गिरफ्तार इसके पहले भी हो चुका है। बावजूद उसके अभी हम लोगों ने अपने अभियान के तहत जब वहाँ के वाइस प्रिंसिपल से बात की तो उन्होंने बताया कि उसकी बहाली गवर्निंग बॉडी जिसमें सारे के सारे गवर्नमेंटल अथॉरिटीज हैं उन लोगों ने उसकी बहाली की 500 रुपये रोज के हिसाब से। वो वहीं का विद्यार्थी रहा है, ही इज ए लॉ ग्रेजुएट। बावजूद उसको कई घटनाएं इसके पहले भी कर चुका है कॉलेज में, लड़कियों के साथ छेड़खानी। एक घटना ऐसी भी है कि पुलिस के साथ उसने मारपीट की। बावजूद ऐसे तत्वों को कॉलेज के कैंपस में इन लोगों ने अलाउ किया, उसको वहां पे टेम्पररी रूप से रखा गया ताकि वो लड़कियों को तंग करे और कॉलेज का माहौल बिगाड़े। तो अभी तक हम लोगों ने सीपी से बात की, अभी हम लोग कोशिश करेंगे। हालांकि जितनी दिक्कत हम लोगों को हुई यहाँ वाइस प्रिंसिपल से मिलने देने में, पुलिस ने जितनी अड़चनें पैदा की, अब प्रेस के लोगों ने भी देखा होगा।
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Welcome back. Now we are getting a breaking input from the international front. Now Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says trade talks with US have resumed after Canada rescinded its plan to tax US technology firms. Now this comes after US President Donald Trump suspended trade talks with the neighboring nation over its plan to continue with its tax on US tech firms, which he called a direct and blatant attack on our country. All right, so this is the latest as far as the US and Canada trade talks are concerned. Remember, US, in fact, last time has said that there are not going to be any negotiation with Canada because of the tax that they have put on US technology firms. And now the latest that we are getting to know is that the talks between Canada and US is going to resume. And this has been confirmed by the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who says that the trade talks with US have resumed after Canada rescinded its plan to tax US technology firms. Now, this is happening after US President Donald Trump has in fact suspended the trade talks with the neighboring nation over its plan to continue with its tax on US tech firm, which he has called it a direct and blatant attack on the country. I'm now joined by CNN News 18's Akansha Swaroop on this broadcast. Akansha, the talks between US and Canada, which was in fact completely withdrawn by both the sides, is now going to continue again. What is really the conditions on which the talks is going to continue now?
So what we can tell you is that they are going to resume because on Friday, Donald Trump had called off the trade talks. He had said that it was a blatant attack. And remember, this is a digital services tax that you are looking at, which was imposed on all of these US tech firms. And they were supposed to be paying 3% of their business, which was above $20 million per year. And the Canadian Prime Minister and US President now will be resuming trade negotiations because finally Canada has scrapped its digital services tax, which was also to take effect after Sunday. And as we all know, this is in a bid to advance the trade negotiations, which have been stalled after Donald Trump threatened to end.
Thank you for staying with us. MEA sources are now telling CNN News 18 that India is going to be raising the April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack during the BRICS summit where the Prime Minister is going to be at. The BRICS summit this time is being hosted by Brazil. It is going to be in Rio. Unlike the SCO's joint statement where Pak and China proved to be hurdles, New Delhi is expecting condemnation of the Pakistani-sponsored terror attack of the 22nd of April, at least at the BRICS summit. What we're also learning is that Xi Jinping is perhaps going to be missing from action as far as the BRICS summit goes, which probably will make India's job easier. Sources within the Ministry of External Affairs have now confirmed that India is going to be raising the terror attack, the fallout of it and Operation Sindoor, which was necessitated, that has been the message that India has carried to the world. Now that is going to be raised at the BRICS summit as well. At the end of that summit, when there is a joint statement, will the Pahalgam terror attack and India's fight against terror find a mention? That is something that we will have to watch out for. But India, of course, will be making a push for it. Akanksha now joins us, getting us more details. Akanksha, what more have you gathered from your sources within the MEA?
So it's very much declared, Poonam, that India will be raising the Pahalgam terror attack, and New Delhi can very much expect the Pahalgam terror attack and terrorism to be condemned in the joint declaration. Remember, Brazil is a key partner to India. It is one of the BRICS nations, also the chair this year. And so the president of Brazil, President Lula, had in fact extended support to Prime Minister Modi soon after we commenced Operation Sindoor on 7th of May. He had called the Prime Minister on 8th. In fact, the All India multi-party delegation led by Dr. Shashi Tharoor had visited Brazil from 1st to 2nd of June. Brazilians had reiterated their support and even solidarity to India in its fight against terrorism. So if you look at it, Brazil is already standing steadfast by India. Interestingly, the Chinese President Xi Jinping is not even going to be there at BRICS this year. But Russia, again, is a time-tested partner. We are also looking at South Africa, with another nation which has extended its support and condemned terrorism. But more importantly, the fact of the matter remains that Pakistan is not a member of BRICS. They have applied for membership, but it is because of India's opposition that they are not able to gain membership of the BRICS summit. So it's important to highlight that India's own economic and defense clout in the BRICS has ensured that Pakistan does not become a member of the BRICS. And at the same time, you have support from other key member nations, which will ensure that India's concerns about regarding terrorism, especially coming from Pakistan, are not just raised, but important to also highlight the contribution that India has been making to BRICS. Remember, BRICS is this year particularly will be focusing on the agenda and the priorities of Global South.
Right.
And India has been a leading voice when it comes to Global South. Not to forget, Poonam, next year India will be chairing the BRICS itself. So for a country which is all set to become the chair, their concerns will be incorporated. We'll be in Rio, which is again a very significant partner as far as Brazil is concerned. We already have space cooperation with them in terms of defense. There is a joint collaboration to develop the AWACS aircraft. The Embraer, which is a Brazilian aerospace company, is collaborating with Mahindra on multi-mission transport aircraft. So a host of issues
Right.
that are going to be dealt with, but terrorism should find a mention.
Right, Akanksha, thank you so much for getting us that update. Shifting focus now to Telangana, where in Hyderabad, we're given to understand the Goshamahal MLA of the BJP, Raja Singh, has resigned from the party and the party's membership. He's allegedly taken that decision, expressing dissatisfaction over the new appointments. Remember, there was a reshuffle as far as appointments in different state units of the BJP is concerned. Telangana did get a new state president, after which we've seen these kind of repercussions for the party. PV Ramana now joins us, getting us more details. Why exactly has Raja Singh resigned? He's listed a number of people, a number of reasons in his resignation, Ramana.
Yeah, Goshamahal MLA Raja Singh has resigned to his party membership for the BJP, in fact. And he was expecting, state presidency, in fact. Earlier also he wanted, he expressed his anguish many times and he wanted to become a chief minister. So even a couple of days ago, he made a video and he kept in the social media stating that if you make me BJP president for Telangana, I'll make Telangana like Uttar Pradesh. I'll work as a Yogi Adityanath, who is working in Uttar Pradesh. That's what exactly coming from his side. And unexpectedly, Mr. Ramchandra Rao has been appointed as a new president for Telangana BJP, expressing dissatisfaction on that. He wrote a big letter pointing out some information in that. He basically stated that He wanted to come to, he came to state office for submission of the nomination papers for the post of the BJP president. Even after that, they not allowed him to, he stated that he was not allowed him to file even a nomination. He worked for the party for so many years. Even after that, the party is not recognizing me and recognizing him. And the president, Ramchandra Rao, new president Ramchandra Rao, is not known to anyone and is unable to make the party strong. And as well as very soon they are going to face local body elections also. In that election, definitely the party will lose in the leadership of Ramchandra Rao. That's what exactly comments from his side. And have to see how he will act. And earlier also, several times he was suspended from the party.
Right.
Sometimes he himself resigned from the party. How to see what turn will it take and all.
Right, Ramana, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. On that note, it's time for a quick break on Nation at 5, but we'll be back with more news and updates. Don't go anywhere.
So much content, so many faces. Do you want to be standing out here and watching them? Or you want to be part of this entire creation of content? If you think you have it in you, come create for us.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Welcome back. Now we are getting a breaking input from the international front. Now Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says trade talks with US have resumed after Canada rescinded its plan to tax US technology firms. Now this comes after US President Donald Trump suspended trade talks with the neighboring nation over its plan to continue with its tax on US tech firms, which he called a direct and blatant attack on our country. All right, so this is the latest as far as the US and Canada trade talks are concerned. Remember, US, in fact, last time has said that there are not going to be any negotiation with Canada because of the tax that they have put on US technology firms. And now the latest that we are getting to know is that the talks between Canada and US is going to resume. And this has been confirmed by the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who says that the trade talks with US have resumed after Canada rescinded its plan to tax US technology firms. Now, this is happening after US President Donald Trump has in fact suspended the trade talks with the neighboring nation over its plan to continue with its tax on US tech firm, which he has called it a direct and blatant attack on the country. I'm now joined by CNN News 18's Akansha Swaroop on this broadcast. Akansha, the talks between US and Canada, which was in fact completely withdrawn by both the sides, is now going to continue again. What is really the conditions on which the talks is going to continue now?
So what we can tell you is that they are going to resume because on Friday, Donald Trump had called off the trade talks. He had said that it was a blatant attack. And remember, this is a digital services tax that you are looking at, which was imposed on all of these US tech firms. And they were supposed to be paying 3% of their business, which was above $20 million per year. And the Canadian Prime Minister and US President now will be resuming trade negotiations because finally Canada has scrapped its digital services tax, which was also to take effect after Sunday. And as we all know, this is in a bid to advance the trade negotiations, which have been stalled after Donald Trump threatened to end these trade talks on Friday. And they are looking to finalize a deal by 21st of July, according to Canada's Finance Ministry. And it's important to also highlight that the Trumpian tariffs have taken a toll, especially on Canada's economy. And we've already seen the kind of relations nosediving, especially under the previous Trudeau government, and things seem to have, reached much of a headway after Donald Trump interacted with the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney during the G7 summit. So it's now it's being seen as a fresh start, and they could not, both sides, especially Canada, could not have afforded this breakdown in trade talks. And as I said, this was a 3% digital tax which Canada was looking to impose on $20 million in a calendar year. But this was also a move by Canada to sort of reciprocate the Trumpian tariffs, but seems that it's been withdrawn.
All right. Many thanks, Akansha, for bringing us that context. And with that, we're going to slip into a short break. More news and update on the other side. Stay tuned.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Welcome back. Now we are getting a breaking input from the international front. Now, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says trade talks with US have resumed after Canada rescinded its plan to tax US technology firms. Now, this comes after US President Donald Trump suspended trade talks with the neighboring nation over its plan to continue with its tax on US tech firms, which he called a direct and blatant attack on our country. All right, so this is the latest as far as the US and Canada trade talks are concerned. Remember, US, in fact, last time has said that there are not going to be any negotiation with Canada because of the tax that they have put on US technology firms. And now the latest that we are getting to know is that the talks between Canada and US is going to resume. And this has been confirmed by the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who says that the trade talks with US have resumed after Canada rescinded its plan to tax US technology firms. Now, this is happening after US President Donald Trump has in fact suspended.
Welcome back. In a major move, Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis scrapped 2 government orders pushing Hindi and the 3-language formula in schools right before the monsoon session. Speaking after a cabinet meeting, he revealed that a new committee formed under Dr. Narendra Jadhav will now review the issue, keeping students first and Marathi a priority. Chief Minister of Maharashtra said that the policy began under Uddhav Thackeray and shutting down these claims that opposition has been making. Raj Thackeray hailed the pushback. He claimed that the fight for Marathi by both the Thackeray brothers forced the rollback, even questioning the Hindi push or the imposition as is being claimed by them. The new committee will now hear all sides to craft a fair policy, ensuring no student loses out.
पहली बात तो यह है, उनका हिंदी को विरोध है, हमारा हिंदी को विरोध नहीं है। इस देश की किसी भी भाषा को हमारा विरोध नहीं है, हिंदी को तो बिल्कुल हमारा विरोध नहीं है। लेकिन जहां तक हिंदी को कंपलसरी सिखाने का सवाल है, तो इस संदर्भ में जो निर्णय हुआ था, उन्हीं के कार्यकाल में कमेटी बनी थी, उस कमेटी में उनके उपनेता भी थे, उसी कमेटी ने निर्णय लिया था, उस निर्णय को कैबिनेट ने उनके ही स्वीकारा था। तो ये पलटी लेना, पलट जाना, ये उनकी आदत है, वो हमेशा पलटते रहते हैं। यानी पलटू राम, ये नाम उनके लिए बहुत सही है। तो ये पलटू राम वाली काम का उन्होंने कार्रवाई की है।
Sir, we've seen that the state has to take a back foot after the protest by opposition. How do you see this very movement by the government?
Government of Maharashtra had no option. They had to take the GR back. The kind of support what Uddhav Thackeray ji and Raj Thackeray ji they were getting was amazing. Parties like us also supported them. Plus, a lot of social organizations also supported, because the decision, the GR what this state government had taken was totally not a scientific GR. It was totally an unnatural GR in Maharashtra. So people also supported both the brothers and the movement against the GR which was taken out by Maharashtra state. And looking at the pressure which was mounting on the government, this government got scared, and then they had to take a call that this, for the coming Mumbai election, this won't go pretty well for the politics. So it's better that we take out, or we take back the GR. That is what we feel.
So how do you see Eknath Shinde not speaking about this at all? The fact that it was a matter of Marathi pride, issue that Shiv Sena has always been speaking about.
That's surprising, but it seems that BJP is kind of controlling opinion of Eknath Shinde ji. From the party what he is from, that party was built to support Marathi Asmita, Maharashtra, Marathi language. So, looking at his position today, he's not able to speak anything. To a large extent, I think BJP is controlling all his opinion. That is what we have to say.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. With 243 seats up for grabs, Bihar continues to remain one of India's most watched out for states when it comes to elections. What makes Bihar elections particularly interesting is the question, who will win the battle to come out as the outright biggest party in the state? It's an election heavily dominated by caste narrative. So is it a fertile ground for the BJP's nationalistic and development pitch? They have managed to turn other states saffron despite long-standing regional parties holding sway. Can Bihar be next? Not to forget, it will be the first election in the country following Operation Sindoor. Whether that will be a factor that will give the NDA any edge, that remains to be seen. The high-stakes battle is only a few months away and the tone has already been set in the battleground. The Election Commission has announced an extensive review of the voter list. The opposition has already likened it to a backdoor entry for NRC exercise. But what really rose the temperatures in the arena was a promise.